Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald. I'm just going to call it Fantastic Beasts 2. Fantastic Beasts 2 is the follow-up to 2016's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and stars Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander. Newt is operating in London, England as a magizoologist, that's a mouthful, when he's called upon by the Ministry of Magic to go after a powerful boy named Credence. He has to get to Credence and rescue him before the big bad Grindelwald does and inflicts war between the non-magical and the magical worlds. Newt initially declines this request, but is then convinced by his friend Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude Law, to go ahead and find Credence. And this sends Newt on a wild adventure to find him before Grindelwald does. And we have our movie. Overall, I thought Fantastic Beasts 2 was a bit of a mixed bag. It does itself a disservice by having way too many plot points to follow. It made the movie feel bloated, convoluted, and really boring at times. That mix of large quantity and story arcs and limited runtime make for an experience that overall feels pretty hollow, and also made for really unmeaningful resolutions for a lot of these characters, which just compromise the experience. The movie has a ton of great ideas, but it just didn't know which ones to commit to. Having said that, the movie does have an interesting conversations about ideologies and how they can divide the bonds between people and cause problems. Additionally, Eddie Redmayne, Jude Law, and Johnny Depp all give charismatic performances that ultimately carry the movie. Let's start off with what I really enjoyed about this movie. There are some stellar performances. Fantastic Beasts 2 has some charismatic characters which are brought to life very well by stellar performers. Eddie Redmayne gives another superb performance as Newt Scamander, creating a merging between Newt and Eddie Redmayne that's unlike any other. I can't imagine anyone else playing the quirky but intelligent magizoologist, given the unsure and unique DNA that Eddie Redmayne brings to the character. Even the minute mannerisms that Redmayne brings to him create a very wholesome character. And additionally, Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore brings charm, confidence, and charisma to Dumbledore as a character, even though Dumbledore I thought was poorly written. Albus Dumbledore feels like a much smarter, much more charismatic character than what the movie script leads him out to be. And I can attribute a lot of that to Jude Law's great performance. Lastly, Johnny Depp really makes Grindelwald a compelling, charismatic, and smart character. Grindelwald is ultimately a character that has insidious intentions and very dark and unconventional methods. And Depp really carries out these methods through the delivery of his dialogue that's gentle yet stark and also really patient, which creates extremely contentious moments between characters. He not only elevates his own performance in scenes, but he also elevates those around him. And lastly, Fantastic Beasts 2 has a very charismatic villain in Grindelwald. He's a simple wizard with a simple message and the intellect to go ahead and build a large following. Grindelwald is composed and calculated at all times, making him feel like he's really in control of every situation. Whether there's 100 people in the room with him or only 2, he feels like the smartest guy in the room, and you never would really know what he's going to do next because he's one step ahead of everyone. Nothing phases him, and he's able to take any surprise scenario, turn it on its head, and use it to his advantage, which is very clever. And in a weird way, it can kind of make you understand why he has such a large following, because he's a smart guy with a very convincing message. Additionally, this movie has one conversation around the idea of ideology and how it can even divide the strongest of bonds between people. Ideologies have been around since the dawn of time, and sometimes it can even break up relationships, it can break up friendships, whatever it might be. It can get in the way of life sometimes. And seeing that go down between some of these characters and what effect that has on them in the movie becomes really fascinating and gets me to think a little bit. It just shows how powerful ideologies can be even in the face of the things that you love. Now, what did I not like so much about this movie? This movie has way too many plot points. For every new character we get in Fantastic Beasts 2, we get their own individual plot line. And considering that the film is very ambitious in revealing new characters, this creates a lot of different plot lines to follow, and with a limited runtime, you don't really get a lot of time with each of them. It creates a scattered, bloated experience that's ultimately trying to tell too many stories. And with that limited runtime, you ultimately get very uninteresting or uncompelling plot lines, and just not all of them land. I found it very hard to find significance in many of them because they're just too many and too disjointed. It feels like this movie just had no idea which great idea it wanted to commit to. It tried to do everything at once and it just didn't work out. And also, for some of the great characters this movie had, there were a lot of poor characters. And this falls in line with my previous point. With the amount of significant characters and plot lines it tries to introduce, it inevitably makes a lot of diluted characters. When you've got 10 new characters to follow and only about 2 hours to tell a story, you don't really get a lot of screen time with any of them, meaning that there are very few opportunities to get to know them, their motivations, their morality, and it really didn't get me invested into any of them all that much. As soon as I started to have an inkling that I cared about any of them, they just moved on to the next. And with that lack of investment in characters, it made a lot of the plot lines feel really shallow, and inevitably the entire experience feel a little shallow. Because honestly, I didn't care a lot about their characters' respective journeys or their outcome. Additionally, the characters are poorly written, having convictions, motivations, and decisions that directly compromise their character. Some had me scratching my head because what little I knew about these characters, their decisions completely contradicted that and discarded anything I might have known about them. Characters who might be logical disband all logic in some of their decisions, while others who might be gentle disband all of that gentleness and go for aggression when they're at impossible odds, and not a lot of it made sense. Just when I thought I had a beat on some of these characters and got invested, I was shown that I was completely wrong, and it made some of the runtime just feel like a waste. So friends, at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to give Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald a 6 out of 10. I thought it was okay and ultimately worth watching. Friends, have you seen Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald? If so, what'd you think of it? You know where the comment section is. Let me know. Thanks so much for watching another Bankrupt Hippo movie review. If you like this, click right here if you'd like to see more. I've been Bryce, and until next time, have a great day.